The exploits of Kung Fu masters are legends no more. We now know they are very real indeed. Isolated in the East, a most extraordinary fighting system was developed called Ving Tsun. Most Westerners see the roots of Kung Fu beginning at the Silim Monastery. Here, within the walls of the monastery, great Kung Fu masters were developed. To Grandmaster Ip Ching and his disciples, the Ving Tsun story means more to them than most. They are a living part of this history. For Ip Ching's father, Ip Man, was one of the greatest Ving Tsun masters of all time. Grandmaster Ip Ching will tell the history of Ving Tsun as told to him by his father, Ip Man, as Matthew Christensen translates.
A monastery, the temple there, and began to burn it.
其中有一個叫做五梅。
One of those people that was there was a person by the name of Nmoy.
係就走咗去廣東嘅唔係走去中國一個叫做江西省。
And this individual escaped to the province of Guangxi in southern China.
當時又有一個姓嚴嘅，我哋叫做嚴義公嘅人收留咗五梅。
And so there was a person surnamed Yim who took in Nmoy and took care of her. 喺五梅喺呢個姓嚴嘅家庭裏邊咧，結果咧就將佢自己嘅功夫教咗俾嚴義公個女，叫做嚴詠春。 嗱，嚴詠春係佢嘅女，
係嚴義公個女嚟。
Okay, so this person by the surname of Yim had a daughter, Yim Yigong, by the name of Yim Yigong, who began to teach Nmoy.
因為五梅俾嚴義公收留咗，又去照顧佢養佢，佢為咗去報答嚴義公，所以就將啲功夫咧教咗佢俾佢個女，嗰個女叫做嚴詠春。
Okay, and so 五梅就係教嚴詠春嗰啲功夫嘅。Oh, okay, sorry. So because Nmoy was kind of taken in as a member of the family, she began to teach Yim Wing-zhong these kung fu techniques.
咁咧嚴詠春就學咗功夫嘅時間就問五梅。
佢就咩？
問五梅呢啲叫做乜嘢功夫
？Okay, so as Nmoy was teaching Yim Wing-zhong, Yim Wing-chun. So as she was teaching her, she asked her, what kind of kung fu techniques are you teaching me? What is it called?
問嚴詠春，唔係嚴詠春問五梅，你教我嗰啲係乜嘢功夫？
Yim Wing-chun asked Nmoy, what kind of kung fu is this?
咁因為當時中國少林寺嗰啲人咧係俾政府去捉㗎，政府捉呢啲人嘅，所以咧五梅佢話人哋問你功夫，你話呢啲功夫你係詠春咁樣，因為佢個名叫做嚴詠春，因為呢啲功夫就係詠春功夫咁。
Okay, and so because the other people who were in the monastery, in the Shaolin monastery, were all captured, and the other had escaped, she called it Wing Chun because that was her name.
所以就話有詠春呢個功夫出現，就係因為咁樣改呢個詠春嘅名出嚟嘅。
And so this was how it got its name. It was taken from the name of this individual.
後來嚴詠春教咗佢將啲功夫教俾佢嗰個丈夫，即係佢個先生。
So Yim Wing-chun also taught her husband Wing Chun.
呢個叫做係梁博籌。
His name was Leung Bok Chao.
梁博籌將功夫教俾呢個梁博籌將功夫教俾黃華普。
And then Leung Bok Chao then taught kung fu to
俾黃華普。
黃華普。
黃華普同埋 梁儀體。
Wang Wapo then taught Yang Yitai.
梁儀體。
Uh-huh.
梁儀體咧，後來咧就係教咗俾佢嗰個侄，即係佢嗰個親人。
And so then this person then taught his nephew.
呢個就係梁贊，佛山梁贊。
Okay, and his name was Leung Jan.
梁贊佢係一個好有學問嘅醫生嚟嘅。
He was a very able and good physician.
佢自己又開有一間好大嘅，即係中藥鋪，即係中國藥。
And he had opened and was running a very large traditional Chinese medicine facility.
佢歷來咧都冇收徒弟嘅。
And before this time, he had not taken in any disciples or students.
佢係將嘅時間咧係教俾自己嗰兩個仔，佢兩個仔一個叫做梁春，一個叫梁碧。
Okay, and then he taught Wing Chun to his two sons by the name of Leung Chun,
Leung Chun
and Leung Bik.
碧咁咧佢就後來佢因為佢間藥材門口咧係一個街市嚟。
Outside the front door of the medicine shop that he ran was a large market.
咁咧當時中國同人找錢嘅人。
Outside of his medicine shop, there was a person who exchanged 找錢 yeah, who exchanged money and dealt with money.
呢個人就係叫做呢個人我哋呢個人就係葉問嗰個師傅。
And this person was Ip Man Sifu.
佢個名叫做陳華順。
His name was Chan Hua Sun.
咁咧，當時陳華順啲仲未知道呢間藥材鋪嗰個老闆咧，即係個樹頭咧，就係梁贊。
Okay, and at the time, he did not know that the person who ran the medicine shop was a 佢唔知道嗰
間藥材鋪嗰個樹頭，即係嗰個主人係梁贊。
Okay, he didn't know that it was Leung Jan that ran the medicine shop across from his business.
有一晚落好大嘅雨。
One night it rained very, very hard.
咁咧就所有鋪頭啲到咗夜晚閂鋪啦。
And so all of the shops were closed up that night.
但係咧，找錢華都因為大雨，佢喺個街邊嗰度有個街邊檔，就唔走得，就企咗喺藥材鋪門口嗰度避雨。
Okay, and because his shop was just a little booth, it wasn't really a shop, he had gone across the street to stand underneath the doorway of the medicine shop.
咁咧就係避下雨嘅時間，見鋪頭裏邊咧有人喺度玩功夫。
And he looked inside the door, and people were in there practicing kung fu.
咁佢咧就係陳華順跪喺梁贊面前，要求梁贊教佢玩詠春功夫。
And so Chen Hua Sun went to Leung Jan's door and asked him, implored with him to teach him these techniques that he'd been observing all this time.
因為梁贊好早就認識咗陳華順嗰個人係點樣嘅，因為佢喺佢門口嗰度擺檔。
Because from a very early time, Leung Jan had known Chen Hua Sun because they worked right across from me. He'd known him for a long time and knew he was a good person.
梁贊知道陳華順個人係好有正義感嘅。
So, he knew that Chen Hua Sun was a very moral and upright person.
所以梁贊當時就係收咗陳華順做徒弟。
And so he accepted Chen Hua Sun to be his disciple or student.
梁贊一生人淨係只有陳華順一個徒弟嘅啫。
And so Chen Hua Sun became the only disciple of Leung Jan, no others.
當陳華順學咗詠春功夫，到梁贊死啦。
So from the time that he began studying Ving Tsun with Leung Jan until the time that Leung Jan 死咗。
梁贊死咗
Until the time that Leung Jan died.
死咗咧，就陳華順先至正式開一間功夫學校去教功夫。
At that time, after Leung Jan had died, he opened his own Ving Tsun Kung Fu school.
當時陳華順租咗我哋聖業嗰個祠堂嚟到去教功夫。
咩祠堂啊？
祠堂即係一個族人裏邊一個聚會嘅地方嗰個。
Okay, so 陳華順就租咗
我哋即係聖業。
Okay, so it was Chen Hua-sun who built then the Ip clan building.
租咗呢間我哋嘅祠堂去做一間教詠春嘅嘢。當時葉問就係12歲嗰個年紀。
佢12歲嗰陣時就開始學。
唔係12歲嘅時間咧，就見到陳華順喺我哋嘅祠堂去教詠春。
And so Ip Man was 12 years old when he saw Chen Hua-sun teaching in this the Ip clan building.
咁咧，葉問咧就好想學功夫，就要求陳華順收佢做徒弟。
And at that time, Ip Man was very interested in learning Ving Tsun and asked if Chen Hua-sun would teach him.
當時陳華順見葉問係一個唔係好高大嘅人。
When he saw Ip Man, he recognized that he was not a large person in stature.
佢個時間只係12、13歲嘅年。
Because he was only 12 or 13 years old at the time.
咁而且佢屋企係一個好富有嘅家庭嘅仔嘅。
陳華順
唔係葉問，屋企係一個好富有嘅家庭。
Okay, Ip Man's family was very wealthy and had a large, nice house.
當時陳華順就話呢啲有錢人嘅子女咧就冇耐性去學功夫嘅。
He said that Chen Hua-sun said of Ip Man, these rich people that come from such comfortable surroundings are not really worthy or make good students of Ving Tsun.
所以陳華順又唔想話唔收佢做徒弟，因為即係唔想拒絕佢，因為佢要租咗佢屋企嘅地方去教功夫，所以佢又唔會話唔收佢咁樣拒絕。
唔可以唔講唔收啊。Okay. And because there was the relationship between Chen Hua-sun was keeping the clan house and everything, he really couldn't refuse him, and so he reluctantly allowed him to be a student.
所以就俾一個難題俾葉問。
難題啊？
難題即係好困難嘅難題俾葉問，就話你要跟我做徒弟咧，我要收500兩白銀做拜師禮嘅咁樣，所以俾一個難題。
500蚊啊
？500個時間啲大銀咁大嗰啲要收佢500個。
所以葉問要俾陳華順啊500蚊啊呢啲銀紙啊。
咁咧實際呢個咧係一個難題特登。
Okay.
俾個難題俾葉問嘅。
Okay, so Ip Man, in order to become a student, he had to give Chen Hua-sun 500 of these coins, the currency at that time. It was a difficult thing for them to do.
當時500兩咧可以買得幾間屋，做得好多嘢嘅錢嚟。
500 units of this currency could buy several large houses.
咁咧，但係葉問後來隔咗有半年時間，真係攞500兩去俾找錢華。
Okay, but after 2個月，你話？
半年。
半年。After a half a year, Ip Man was able to come up with all this money to give him to be his student. I guess Chen Hua-sun didn't think he'd be able to come up with that kind of money, but after a half a year, he did.
咁當時陳華順揸住呢500兩，隻手拖住葉問，就去見葉問嗰個老豆。
Ip Man嘅老豆。Okay, so Chen Hua-sun then took the money and he took Ip Man by the hand and went to see Ip Man's father.
佢以為葉問咁細個細路一定冇咁多錢嘅，以為佢係偷屋企嘅，所以帶咗佢翻去 佢老豆話俾佢聽，佢拎咗咁多錢嚟學功夫。
Yeah, he figured that a kid of 12 or 13 years old no way could come up with that kind of money. He figured he must have stolen it, and so he was taking him to his father.
但係到當找錢話，即係陳華順帶咗去見葉問嘅老豆嘅時間，葉問老豆話俾陳華順知，呢啲錢係佢話要學功夫，我俾佢嚟去跟佢學功夫嘅。
So when they went to see Ip Man's father told Chen Hua-sung that this money was given to him by me so that he could study kung fu.
咁咧，所以咧，從嗰時開始咧，葉問就係正式跟陳華順學功夫。
So from this time forward, then Ip Man became a regular or became an official student of Chen Hua-sung.
當時詠春因為梁贊打起嗰個名，有好多人知道有詠春呢門功夫，但係學嘅人係好少嘅。
Even though a lot of people had heard of this Wing Chun started by Liang Zhan in this area, but there were very few people that actually studied it and practiced it at that time.
陳華順一共係教咗16個徒弟。
16個。
16個。
Altogether, he only had 16 students.
當時最有名嘅有一個叫做吳仲素，呢個係
吳仲素
大徒弟嚟。
Okay, the most famous was a person by the name of Wu Zhongsu.
最尾嗰個就係葉問。
And the lowest disciple at that time was Ip Man. He was on the low side of hierarchy there.
咁後來到找錢華死咗啦。
找錢就係陳華上。
陳華上陳華上即係佢即係教咗葉問，大約係4年功夫到啦。
4年。
4年陳華順
就死
啦。
Okay, so Chen Hua-sung taught Ip Man Kung Fu for a period of 4 years, and then he passed away.
後來葉問17歲嘅時間到香港讀中學。
Ip Man went to Hong Kong when he was 17 years old and began studying high school.
佢讀書嗰間就係叫做聖士提反中學。
Okay, so the high school that he studied at was St. Francis High School in Hong Kong.
當時香港係英國人統治嘅。
And at that time, of course, British were ruling Hong Kong.
所有警察都係用印度同埋巴基斯坦人，就唔用中國人。
用印度同咩？
同埋
Okay, so and at that time, the British used Indian and Pakistani for people for policemen.
當時呢啲警察對香港嘅中國人係好強橫嘅。
強橫啦，they were not very they're violent toward the Chinese people at that time. They didn't have very good rapport.
有一次，葉問同埋一個同學喺返學嘅路程嘅過程，見有2個印度嘅警察打一個中國女人。
When Ip Man and his friend were going to school one day, they saw a situation where an Indian police officer was hitting a Chinese girl.
當時葉問同佢個同學講，佢又唔係賊，你唔需要咁樣去打佢。
哦，佢唔係賊啊。
即係打呢個人。
Oh, yeah, okay. And so they said that, you know, this girl is not a thief or a criminal or anything. Why are you hitting her?
如果你話佢係賊，你可以捉咗佢去差館。
Yeah, I mean, if she's a thief, then you have every right to take her away.
咁當時葉問就去同呢個女人出頭話嗰2個警察唔應該咁打呢個。
And they basically told the policeman that they shouldn't be doing that, hitting a girl like that.
當時呢個警察見葉問都係一個17歲嘅細路，就揸支棍一樣連葉問啲打埋。
And he saw that Ip Man was, you know, only a kid, 17 years, and so he went to hit him.
咁當時葉問已經係跟咗找錢華學咗4年詠春功夫。
He had already studied 4 years of kung fu in China before he'd come.
佢就唔會俾嗰個警察打，就同個警察打起上嚟，結果咧 佢就係打跌咗一個警察，個警察成面都係血。
So he basically took this police officer down, bleeding all over in his face.
咁佢就走咗翻學啦。
And then he just took off and went to school.
咁佢個同學翻到去佢即係葉問嘅同學翻到去佢自己嘅屋企，就同一個老年人講。
So his classmate then ran home and told somebody there at his house what had happened.
佢話：今朝我見到，因為呢個老年人咧又係佛山人嚟嘅。
This older person that he told this story to was also from Fatsan.
佢話：我個同學，即係葉問嘅同學講，佢話我個同學打嗰個警察嘅時間，我啲非常即係好開心，而且佢打得咧就係好瀟灑嘅，即係咁樣就話俾呢個老人聽。
He told this old gentleman from Fatsan that this morning on the way to school that his classmate Ip Man had hit this policeman and had done a very impressive job, and he made him very, very happy.
咁呢個老年人問你個同學：你知唔知佢點樣打嗰個警察？
And so the old gentleman, do you know how he hit this policeman?
佢話佢好容易嘅，嗰個警察揾支棍卜佢，卜佢嘅時間佢就揾隻手咁樣，即係就打嗰個警察。所以咧，佢話我見得佢打得好容易嘅。
He said it looked very, very simple when the policeman went to bash him on the head. He just countered and hit him, and it made it look very, very simple.
咁呢個老年人佢話：你聽日請你個同學嚟呢度見。
Tomorrow, would you please invite your classmate to come here? I'd like to see him.
葉問第日真係放完學，同埋一個同學去見呢個老人。
Okay, so the next day, they both went back to his classmate's house to meet this old gentleman.
呢個老人家問葉問：你學嗰啲係咩功夫？
And so the old gentleman asked Ip Man, what kind of kung fu did you study?
咁當時葉問係一個10幾歲好後生嘅人，佢就好豪氣咁樣講，佢話呢啲功夫係最好嘅功夫。
He was just a young boy at this time, 17, and so he was a little proud, and he said, "This is the best kind of kung fu in the world."
佢話：我話俾你聽，你知唔識㗎啦？咁樣佢話。
And he says, "If I told you, you wouldn't understand."
咁佢話葉問問佢：你知唔知佛山有一種功夫就叫做詠春？佢話。
And he says, "Do you know that in Fatsan there is a type of kung fu called Ving Tsun?"
咁當時嗰個老人家佢話：我都係佛山人，我聽過有呢個功夫，我仲聽過佛山有一個叫做梁贊呢個人咁樣。
So he said, "Yeah," he said, "I'm from Fatsan, and I have heard of this kind of Wing Chun, and I've heard that there is a very famous Wing Chun artist by the name of Liang Zhan."
咁後來呢個老人家佢話：你學詠春嘅，你可唔可以玩套小念頭俾我睇下？
He said, "So you have studied Wing Chun. Can you show me how to do the Xiulin Tao form?"
咁葉問就玩一套小念頭俾佢睇。
And so he demonstrated how to do the Xiulin Tao.
佢睇完嗰個老人家話：都幾好咁，即係唔係好好，
Okay.
都幾好咁樣。
So after he demonstrated this, the old gentleman said, "Yeah, you did okay, but not that great."
當時葉問好唔開心，
And at that time, Ip Man was not very happy.
佢認為自己嘅功夫係詠春裏邊最好嘅，所以佢唔開心。
He felt that his type of Wing Chun was the very best, and so he wasn't too happy to hear this.
咁佢話：你玩埋套尋橋俾我睇，咁叫葉問。
And so he said, "Why don't you show me how to do the chumkyu?"
因為葉問嗰個時代嘅中國人係對老人家係好尊敬嘅。
At this time, relationship between younger people and elder people, there was a great deal of respect.
所以佢唔開心，都玩埋套尋橋俾呢個老人家睇。
So he wasn't too happy to demonstrate the chumkyu form at this point.
當葉問玩完套尋橋俾呢個老人家睇嘅時間， 嗰個老人家擰下個頭，即係唔係幾好。
So as he was demonstrating the thumb cue, the old gentleman was shaking his head and saying that's not very good.
咁啊，當時葉問係好唔開心㗎。
And so Ip Man was very unhappy at this point.
咁啊，再叫佢玩埋套標紙俾佢睇。
碼頭啊？
唔係，即係咧，嗰個老人家叫葉問再玩埋嗰套標紙俾
Oh, okay. So then he asked him if he would demonstrate the Buji form for him at that time.
其實葉問仲未學標紙嘅。
And at that time, Ip Man had not learned the Buji.
葉問話：我玩兩條拳俾你睇，你啲究竟啲唔知識唔識嘅，所以佢話我唔玩俾你睇。
即係葉問話啦。
對呢個老人家話我唔中意玩第三套拳俾你睇。
Okay. Yeah. So Ip Man said, I don't really feel like showing you this last form.
其實葉問都未識標紙㗎。
But in fact, he'd never really learned it.
嗰個老人家佢話咁樣，不如我同你黐下手好唔好啊？咁。
And he said, how about if I do Chisao with you?
葉問當時非常之開心。
And at that time, Ip Man was extremely happy at this point.
佢因為佢玩兩套拳，呢個老人家都話幾好，唔係幾好，佢已經係好唔開心啦。
So this old gentleman had said the first form he did, he said it was okay, and the second form was not too good, and so now he was.
當時嘅年代係中國係着一啲長嘅衫嘅。
And at that time, the Chinese, the clothing they wore very long, like a tunic, sort of. Yeah, kind of a long tunic type of a gown.
當時葉問除一件長衫，就同呢個人黐手。
佢做咩？
當時呢個老人家話叫葉問黐手俾佢睇啊嘛。咁你黐手一定要有人同佢
去吹嗰啲長衫。Okay, so
除低件長衫先同佢黐手。
So he took off this long robe so he could do chisao with the old gentleman.
咁啊，葉問同嗰老人家碌咗幾下之後咧就一撳住想打嗰個老人家一拳。
So after a little while, Ip Man 想打佢。So Ip Man wanted to hit the old guy.
即係佢打一拳，即係睇佢擋唔擋到佢。
He wanted to see if he could block it.
呢個老人家綁住佢，嘣，即係將佢成個掉咗埋。
So he basically blocked it and tossed him off the side of the way there.
葉問當時以為自己唔係功夫唔好，係對呢個老人家即係睇唔在眼啊，所以佢再出嚟再同呢個老人家玩。
Okay, so he then got up and wanted to continue to work out with the gentleman. 葉問想話一拍住佢就打佢一拳嘅時間 葉問就打佢。
一拍住佢。
Okay, so he
打呢個老人家拳。
So he blocked again and tried to hit the old gentleman again.
點知個老人家又一綁住佢一擰開嚟，一個抱埋手，砰！一日就收佢。
And again, the old gentleman was blocked him and threw him off to the side again.
葉問當時一隻手就執翻嗰件自己件衫，嗰件長衫，砰砰聲就走啦。
And so then at that point, Ip Man, in frustration, grabbed his clothing and ran out.
咁啊，第日翻學又見到嗰個同學，一個同學同佢讀書嘅。
Okay, so the next day, then he was with his classmate going to school.
佢話個老人家請你今日再去佢嗰度咁樣。
And he said the old gentleman would like you to come back and see him again today.
佢話唔去啦。
He said, "No, I'm not going."
係啊，唔去啦。
Yeah.
咁啊，佢同學翻去照話俾個老人家聽。
And so then his classmate then returned and told the old gentleman that his classmate didn't want to come.
你去話佢嗰個老人家叫個同學。第日話俾葉問聽，呢個老人家個名叫做梁碧。
And so he said, well, you go back and tell your classmate that I'm Leung Bek.
佢會嚟嘅。
And then he'll definitely come back.
當時葉問聽到呢個名嘅時間，未上殿堂，就去揾呢個老人家。
And so as soon as he heard this guy's name before class was even over, he went to his house.
當時葉問向梁碧道歉後。希望梁碧再教佢功夫。
And so he was then hopeful that Leung Bek would continue training him in Kung Fu.
所以葉問學詠春係學早期學找錢華，後期學梁碧。 但係葉問從來冇話梁碧係佢師傅嚟嘅。
So he had 即係佢冇叫梁碧佢嘅師傅啊。
即係嗱，葉問早期就學
喺廣州嗰度。
喺佛山就學找錢華，係拜找錢華做師傅嘅。後期梁碧教佢，梁碧將嘅嘢教佢，佢只不過係梁碧，佢都係叫梁碧做師伯，就從來冇叫梁碧做師傅嘅。
So Ip Man, his original training in Fatsan, his original Sifu was there, and he then referred to Leung Bik as his Sibak and not as his Sifu, because his original training had come from his other master in Fatsan.
所以就係葉問學嘅詠春就係找錢華同埋梁碧嘅混合嘅功夫嚟。
So his training in Kung Fu then was a combination of Leung Bik and Chen Hua Sung, was sort of a combination between, or at least he was trained under both of those.
其實佢兩個人嘅功夫喺拳套同埋打樁係完全一樣。
拳套打樁啊！
即係三套拳嘅玩法，同埋打木人樁啊，同埋6點半。全部都係一樣啊！全部都。Okay, so both of his Sifu and his Sibak, both of their training was exactly the same, and all the different techniques was identical. 但係嗰個理解能力唔同。理解嗰個理解，即係嗰個。
Okay, but they did have different concepts.
因為找錢華係一個喺街市一個冇受過幾多教育嘅人。No education.
Because Chen Hua Sung, he worked at the market, and most of the people that were in that area were not educated.
所以佢嘅理解能力就唔係好高嘅。
So his concepts and philosophy was not very deep.
梁碧係由細到大都係受過高深教育。
On the other hand, Leung Bik had a lot of education, was well educated.
佢對事物嘅即係對一種功夫嘅理解嘅程度，比找錢華係高好多。
And so his philosophy and the concepts were deeper and more elevated than Chen Hua Sung's.
所以葉問嘅詠春同係現係喺佛山教嘅詠春嘅情形，到現在咧係玩起上嚟係好大分別。
So there was a very big difference between the different philosophies and concepts that were taught in Fatsan versus in Hong Kong. 1949, when the communists took over in mainland China, is the time when Ip Man went to Hong Kong.
成個唔好話世界，淨係香港都唔知道詠春係乜嘢功夫嚟。
Nobody in Hong Kong had any idea what Wing Chun was at that time.
經過葉問喺10幾年嘅努力，即係葉問教咗10幾年嘅功夫嘅努力，培養出一班好得力嘅徒弟，個詠春嘅名開始喺香港有咗一個好重要嘅地方。
Yeah, over a period of many years, Ip Man was diligent in teaching many disciples until finally Wing Chun began to be more noticed and more popular in Hong Kong.
我想喺度同大家講一講，中國功夫好遠歷史嘅，即係好有歷史嘅功夫咧，有洪拳。
Chinese within Chinese Kung Fu, there is a very long and varied history.
太極
There is what was 第一次係咩？
洪拳。
One of those branches is Hong Kyun.
太極。
太極。
蔡李佛。
蔡李佛。
同埋其他啲叫做其他嘅形意拳啊等等咧。
形意拳 and so on.
都喺中國裏邊好早咧，已經係好多人知道有呢啲功夫。
And all of these different branches of Kung Fu had been around in China for a long time, and everybody knew about all these different branches.
當時啲冇人知道有詠春呢啲功夫。
But nobody really knew anything about Wing Chun.
因為詠春嘅發展係發展得好嗰 個範圍好細嘅。
Because the development of Wing Tsun took place in a very small, limited area.
細路讀書嘅時間咧，佢一讀讀完中學啦，佢要考大學。
At that time, when students finished studying the equivalent of high school, then they prepared to study at university.
嗰段時代，香港淨係得香港大學一間，其他啲仲未有。
And at that particular time, there was only one university in Hong Kong, being Hong Kong University.
咁啲人考唔到大學嘅時間咧，就要去海外，即係去住美國啊、加拿大啊或者歐洲啊去求學。
If the students couldn't get into Hong Kong University, if they couldn't pass the entrance exams, then they went elsewhere to go to university, either in China or America or other areas of the world.
其中有啲葉問嘅徒弟，即係跟葉問學緊功夫，又未學完嘅時間。佢到升學嘅時間，佢就離開咗葉問，走去外邊讀書。
And so some of the disciples of Man were not able to get into university, and so they went abroad to continue their education.
其中李小龍係其中一個嘅代表。
Bruce Lee is a representative of one of these people.
所以經過呢20-30年嘅時間，喺美國、加拿大、歐洲甚至澳洲，詠春有咁多人認識，同呢班當時葉問教呢班學生係好有關係嘅。
So in the next 20 to 30 years after that, Wing Tsun became to be known in various places such as Canada and America and Australia and in Europe.
佢嗰啲到外國讀書嘅學生，大部分都係初自己喺度玩詠春功夫。即係嗰啲學生去咗外國讀書啦，咁佢得閒時間佢自己又重新再練下。
So these students of Wing Tsun who had gone abroad to study, that they continued to practice their Wing Tsun in their spare time.
玩下咧，有其他人見到佢玩，就要求嗰啲人教佢。
And as they would practice in various situations, people would observe them and would ask what they were doing, and if they would teach them what they were doing.
時間咧長咗，佢變咗有好多人要求嗰啲跟佢學功夫。
And it came to be that there were many people that were asking to be taught Wing Tsun Kung Fu.
佢開始要收人哋學費啦，即係嗰啲讀書嗰啲人。
你話葉問啊？
唔係。
Okay. And it became necessary for these people around the world to start asking for tuition to be able to teach these many people that were asking to be taught.
所以就造成咗有世界各地咧都有人教功夫嘅情形出現。
So you have a situation now where Kung Fu is formally taught in various countries throughout the world.
呢個係詠春發展一個好特殊嘅情形。
This is a very interesting and special part of how Kung Fu has been brought to the world.
但係其中有一個好唔好嘅現象，又係因為咁樣出現咗嚟。
你話呢件事係唔好嘅？
將詠春散播到世界各地係一件好事嚟，咁嘅形式。
係個好事。Okay, so bringing Wing Tsun to the world in this way has been a very good thing.
但係有一個唔好嘅情形出現咧，就係因為呢班學生仔喺葉問嘅時間未學晒佢嘅功夫出嚟去教，所以佢有啲木人樁啊，甚至黐手啊，甚至有啲拳套啊，佢都未學，佢已經出嚟教啦。
So there were many of these people who had not finished their studies with Ip Man and then had gone abroad, and so their training was incomplete.
但係佢真係葉問嘅徒弟嚟。
But they truly were Ip Man's disciples.
因為佢未學晒啲功夫，人哋即係譬如個個知道詠春有小念頭、尋橋、標指三套拳。
You know that Wing Tsun has the three forms. 小念頭、尋橋 and 標指
三套拳，但係佢嗰啲學生仔學咗兩套就出咗去外國。
So a lot of these disciples had just studied two of the forms and then had gone abroad to study.
咁佢呢套唔識教俾佢嘅徒弟。
And so the last form they weren't able to teach their disciples because they didn't know it.
佢咧就係有啲咧就係睇錄影帶，有啲 即係買啲書本嚟到睇咧，就自己咧就話呢啲功夫係葉問教㗎啦咁樣。
And so some would see movies or read books and say, well, this must have been Ip Man's style.
所以喺咁嘅情形咧出現咗，到現在時間出現咗好多真係葉問嘅徒弟。但佢教嘅一部分係葉問嘅功夫，一部分就唔係葉問嘅功夫。
Okay, so we have an unfortunate situation where these people are true disciples and students of Ip Man. However, they teach some of what Ip Man taught, and then the other part is not true Ip Man teachings. It's something they came up with themselves.
我相信大家都會有一個咁樣嘅即係知道出邊有啲人佢係話葉問徒弟，但係佢教嘅功夫同真係葉問教我哋大家學嘅功夫係有時有啲好大嘅出入。
And you've probably observed people teaching kung fu that perhaps are true students, and yet the things that they teach are very different than his complete techniques.
詠春功夫發展到現在可以講係中國功夫裏邊係一個最生氣、最蓬勃嘅一個中國功夫。
最生氣，
即係生氣，即係咧生氣，即係好似興旺咁嘅意思。興旺即係發展得。
即係詠春發展到而家啦，生氣啊！
即係興旺。
點解啊？Oh, okay. So Wing Chun from this origin up until this day has really blossomed and has flourished.
我前年喺佛羅里達去做 seminar 嘅時間，有個記者訪問我佢問我知唔知道現在世界上有幾多人學詠春？我話我冇法子知道，因為我去嘅地方好少。
Okay, so the year before last, he was in Florida doing a seminar, and somebody asked him how many people are there in the world that are studying Kung Fu, and he could not say how many because he hasn't visited very many places.
佢後來喺美國煙沙功夫嘅嗰個資料室裏邊攞到，即係呢個就係美國煙沙功夫話俾。
咩係煙沙功夫啊？
即係美國有一本雜誌，嗰個名叫做《煙沙功夫》。
哦，係雜誌嚟嘅。
就對於中國功夫嘅了解得係比較詳細好多嘅呢個雜誌社。
It says that there's an American Kung Fu magazine that 即係點樣嘅呢個雜誌咧，就係講
就佢知道即係呢個功夫雜誌社話俾呢個記者聽，現在呢個世界上同一時間學詠春嘅超過10萬人。
萬人啊
！10萬即係同一個時間。
So this Kung Fu magazine reported that there were 100,000 people that were studying Wing Chun around the world.
我講嗰個詠春嘅源流歷史講到呢度就即係講到現在啦。咁樣唔知各位有冇咩想知道嘅有關詠春嘅嘢可以提出，我可以同大家一齊去。
Okay, so he's related the history of Wing Chun up until this day. Now, if there are any questions or areas that you're not clear on, you may now ask some questions.
If he's still alive, he's 100 years old.
當時嗰啲人去學功夫拜嗰個師傅係非常之尊重嗰個師傅嘅。
Back to that time, people when they look for a kung fu teacher, they are very respectful to him.
所以葉問一樣係有咗呢種咁樣嘅思想遺傳落嚟嘅。
So Ip Man always still have that respectful thought.
因為佢有呢種咁嘅思想嘅時間，就佢 教功夫咧，佢係好講求呢、嗰個培養，即係呢個選擇徒弟嗰個咁樣嘅情形。
So when Ip Man, when he picks student, he's very careful to pick a good student.
佢唔想培養到一啲唔好嘅徒弟，所以佢喺教功夫嘅過程裏邊係用一個好慢進嘅形式去教學生嘅。
So when Ip Man teach his student, he teach very slowly because he want to be more understand his student.
佢通常教一套小念頭同埋單黐手同埋淨係盤手，都要超過1年到1年半時間。
So usually when Ip Man taught his student, it take more than 1 or 1.5 year to teach the 小念頭 and some basic 黐手。
喺年半你學得好啊，年半後先至開始教佢玩尋橋。
So after 1.5 year, and Ip Man would teach them 尋橋。
到學得好嘅時間，2年至2年半開始教佢玩標指同埋打木人樁。
So after 2 years or 2.5 years, and Ip Man would start teaching them the 標指 or the 木人樁。
佢都仲係佢教功夫嘅過程都仲係保持呢種好舊式嘅中國教功夫嘅形式。
So Ip Man kept it very traditional way of teaching.
但係呢個現代嘅社會有啲人係受唔到呢種咁樣嘅教育嘅。
So in this modern society, a lot of people they cannot stand that traditional way of teaching.
所以佢有啲未學完晒就離開咗佢嘅師傅。
So some of the students they not even finished and they already left.
後來發覺到詠春原來係咁受世界嘅愛好玩運動嘅人歡迎嘅。
And then later on, they find out the Wing Chun is very popular all over the world.
咁嘅時間，佢見到有好多人去教詠春嘅時間，喺名利上都有咗一定嘅收益。
So he's seen a lot of people teaching Wing Chun make very good money.
所以佢同埋又出嚟去教人玩詠春。
So those students who never finished the Wing Chun system and they go out and start teaching Kung Fu.
呢度係一部分人未學晒葉問嘅功夫出嚟教嘅。
So those are the people they never finish their study.
另一部分我昨日都同大家講過，話有一班學生仔學下功夫到海外讀大學嘅人。
And also there's a big group of students. They was learning Wing Chun, but they had to go overseas and study.
當時佢完全冇計劃話去教詠春嘅。
And they never plan on teaching Wing Chun.
但係佢喺幾年嘅大學過程裏邊，自己玩嘅時間有啲同學要求佢教佢，所以教整下嘅時間，佢變咗有一班人去跟佢學。
So when those young students, when they were in college, and when they were practice, and some other people seen the Wing Chun was quite interested, so they start asking those students to teach them Wing Chun.
後來呢班人有一部分覺得佢嘅入息係好過去打一份工嘅時間，佢索性以教詠春為職業。
So later on, those Wing Chun students, and they find out it's a very good good way to make pocket money, so they decide to teach Wing Chun.
呢部分人又係好大部分未學晒葉問嘅功夫嘅，就出嚟教㗎啦。
So they also never finished their study from Master Ip Man.
因此呢啲人教詠春咧，佢就只係學咗一部分就出嚟教。佢重新想再跟葉問學啦，葉問又如果你未得佢同意出嚟教功夫時間咧，你翻去佢 佢完全唔會教你嘅。
So those people, they start teaching Wing Tsun, but they never finish. But they are afraid to go back to Ip Man and learn more because they never get permission from Ip Man before they go out to teach. So Ip Man will not teach them again.
呢種嘅做法好唔好？我哋暫時唔好評論佢住。
So this matter we put him on the side for now.
但係呢種咁嘅情形喺中國舊社會裏邊係個個教功夫師傅都係咁樣嘅情形。
But all the kung fu teacher they all do the same way. If the student don't get permission to teach, they don't allow them to come back.
好啦，既然佢未學晒全部嘅功夫，但係咧就好多人都知道詠春係有3套拳，有莊，有6點半棍同8斬刀㗎。
So everyone know Wing Chun have 3 hand forms and the pole and the knives and the dummies.
佢未學晒嘅時間，佢就或者揾啲其他人教，或者係自己創造一啲形式出嚟教。
So they never finish the system, and they'll try to make up the rest of the movements.
所以喺到現在有好多係葉問，真係葉問嘅徒弟出嚟教詠春，佢教嘅手法同埋嗰個拳套、木人樁同埋其他啲嘢，都同我哋有好大嘅唔同嘅。
So there are many Wing Chun teachers, and they teach so much different than what we teach right now.
但係唔同嘅時間係好多學詠春嘅人都會知道嘅。
Because of so many Wing Chun students, and they know, so much difference. 呢啲人為咗同自己辯護嘅時間，佢創出好多嘅故事出嚟。So they try to protect themselves. They make up a lot of stories. 有啲話我嘅功夫係葉問秘密教我嘅。So even some teachers said Ip Man taught their kung fu secretly. 有啲話葉問有2套功夫嘅，教香港同埋教其他人就係教爪前華教佢嘅詠春。And some people even said Ip Man have 2 different style of kung fu. 有啲話葉問教我嗰啲咧就係阿碧教葉問，葉問將阿碧教佢嘅功夫，淨係教我一個人嘅。Since Ip Man have 2 different Wing Chun teacher from Leung Bik and Chen Hua Sun, so everybody said Ip Man have 2 different style, and some say their style come from Leung Bik, and some others say their style come from Chen Hua Sun. 其實呢啲全部都係謊言嚟嘅。In fact, all those are not true. 我哋可以自己用下腦去諗，去想。Okay, you can think about it yourself. 做2種唔同嘅功夫，去幾十年去教人嘅時間咧，冇話人哋唔知道嘅。But how people don't know if Ip Man taught people with 2 different styles? 呢啲人其實係有一種唔正常嘅心理，或者有一種係妙想天開嘅心理，先至會諗到呢啲咁好笑嘅謊言出嚟嘅啫。So a lot of the people they just have too much imagination to make up all those untrue story. 我哋唔好咁崇拜話葉問嘅功夫係絕對一定係最好，我哋可以唔使用一種咁主觀嘅情形去睇一件事。So don't be too serious and look at it. Ip Man's kung fu is the best. 我哋只要將葉問嘅功夫從一個正確、好毅力去練習、去訓練嘅時間，係真係實用嘅時間。呢種就係好功夫。So you should look at it very carefully and practice hard, and then that is called the real 功夫。
如果有人話葉問嗰啲功夫淨係教佢一個嘅，係其他人唔教嘅時間，佢嘅功夫應該一定係比我哋好好多先至係啱嘅。
So some people said Ip Man taught them 功夫 only, and that person must be very good in 功夫。
所以我趁呢個機會咁，大家咁多人嘅時間喺呢度嘥大家一啲時間，就係講明功夫好唔好係要真係實用，先嚟到判斷嗰啲功夫係好與唔好。唔好話人哋話呢啲功夫係淨係佢有得教，其他人冇教，你又信佢10幾個時間，有時會即係誤咗你學功夫嘅情形嘅時間咧，有時你會感到好後悔嘅。
So today we decide to sit together and discuss this matter, and the best 功夫 is only when you look at it seriously and practice.
我講一個好簡單嘅故事俾你聽。
Okay, that's a very simple story.
我大約喺半年前喺香港詠春體育會教功夫嘅時間。
Okay, in 6 months ago when he was teaching in the Hong Kong Wing Chun Association,
有3位喺歐洲德國過嚟香港嘅學詠春嘅人。
There was 3 Wing Chun disciples came from Germany.
佢走上當時我喺體育會係教緊個時間係教緊學生。
Okay, when Master Ip Ching was teaching few of his students,
佢同我講，佢好客氣同我講，佢話我坐喺度睇下你哋教詠春得唔得咁佢。
And they sit down and they asked him, they want to sit down and watch the class.
我話我都歡迎你睇嘅咁。
And Ip Ching said, of course, welcome to watch.
佢由晚口7點鐘睇到我10點鐘收場，我啲學生走晒啦，佢呢3個人都仲未走。
So they were sitting there from 7 o'clock at night until 10 o'clock at night, and waiting for Ip Ching. And even those the Ip Ching disciple left.
佢同我講，佢話我見到你玩功夫嘅時間，我對學詠春成個人啲即係好心淡，成個人啲冇晒鬥志咁樣。佢話。
So the 3 disciples from Germany, and they said they are very unhappy seeing watching this class.
我問佢點解，我都覺得好突然。
And Ip Ching was shocked and asked him why.
佢話俾我聽，佢話我使咗好多錢學喺歐洲德國學11年詠春。
Okay, and they told Ip Ching they spent a lot of money in Germany and just want to learn Wing Chun.
錢使咗，我可以再揾過。
See, the money they spend, they can make some more.
我11年時間，我冇法子再揾翻嚟。
But all the time, in 11 years, passed and they cannot get it back.
佢話：我睇你玩嘅詠春同埋教嘅詠春，同我哋喺歐洲德國學嘅詠春根本係兩回事。
Because the way you teach Wing Chun here is different than the way they teach in Germany.
佢話：我哋學嗰啲係垃圾。佢話。
And the 3 people said what they learned in Germany was just garbage.
佢當時佢係一個好威武、好高大嘅人嚟嘅。
Those 3 guys are like a big, huge person.
當時佢同我講完嘅時間，流起眼淚落嚟。
And they would start crying.
咁樣，我當時我非常之同情佢。
And Ip Ching feels so sad.
我將呢個簡單嘅故事講俾大家聽嘅時間就係，我哋要用腦去判斷自己嘅師傅究竟係唔係教真正好嘅詠春功夫，就唔好如果是但跟任何嘅人學嘅時間咧，你會嘥你好多時間，到你好似呢個人學咗10幾年先發覺自己學嘅功夫係好曳嘅功夫。
So the purpose of this story telling you, when you look for a Wing Chun teacher, and you should look for the one is a true master, you don't want to just go find a person and say, hey, I want to learn from you. Because all the time you spend and you learn it, and then later on you find out it's not good and you waste all your time.
我講呢個故事俾大家聽，我希望大家唔好問我呢幾個德國人係跟邊個師傅學嘅。
So after you listen to this story, you don't have to ask him who are those 3 gentlemen's teacher.
我今日同大家講嘅係講到嚟呢度。
So that's all today.
之高興。
He's very happy in the last 3 days doing Wing Chun with you all together.
我首先好多謝阿灣俾個咁好嘅機會，我喺度同大家一齊去練習。
So thank you, Ran, to give him such a good opportunity to practice with everyone in here.
Thank you.